Everyone, I am Shakina Campulio Agrario, BSHM, your reporter from Group 1, Macro Perspective in Tourism and Hospitality Industry. Our report in Chapter 3 is all about the economic of tourism and hospitality. We will going to discuss the effect of tourism and hospitality to our economy. Now let's go to the objectives. Number 1. Explain the role of tourism and hospitality in economic development. The most common and important economic feature of activities related to the tourism sector that they can contribute to three high priority goals of developing countries: generation income, employment, and foreign exchange earning. Number 2. Differentiate the direct and secondary effects of tourist expenditure. Direct effects are the change in economic activity during the first round of spending, while secondary effects are the change in economic activity from subsequent rounds of respending of tourism dollars. Number 3. Describe the undesirable effect of the economic aspect of tourism and hospitality. The negative economic impact of the tourism is the cost of infrastructure. Tourism development can cost the local government and local taxpayers a great deal of money. Tourism mainly require government to improve the airport, the roads, and other infrastructure which are costly. Number 4. What are the strategies that can maximize the economic effect of tourism? Restoring probability of accommodation sector, balancing demand and supply, continuing the diversification out of beach park package tourism into higher package, higher spending, and less enslaved tourism.
Lesson 3.1 The Role of Tourism and Hospitality in Economic Development. The most obvious effect of tourism and hospitality is that it creates employment of hotels, airlines, travel agencies, and more. It also develops a nation because of this what we call multiplier effect. I am going to discuss that later. It also causes the greater technology in the country because they should create the best experience possible for their customer. Several developing countries use tourism and hospitality as alternative to help economic growth. The reason for this are: there is a continuous demand for international travel in developed countries. Other countries use tourism and hospitality as alternative because it is endless. Every day, many people travel and many countries seize that as an opportunity to help them for their economic development. Income developed countries increase and demand for tourism and hospitality also increases at the faster rate. If there's a high numbers of tourists, the income of the country increase and the demand for hospitality increase also. For example, in Lake Cebu, many hotels and restaurants built there because of the high numbers of tourists. Developing countries need foreign exchange to lead their economic development. So why foreign exchange needed for economic development? It is simply important because the exchange rate, the price of one currency in terms of another, helps to determine a nation's economic health. For example, the Philippine peso into a dollar. Sometimes $1 is equivalent to 40 pesos. That is when the Philippine economy is good, but when our country is in its worst, it ranges 50 to 55 pesos in $1. Tourism and hospitality is an invisible export which differs from international trades. In tourism and hospitality, the consumer collects the products from the exporting country, thereby eliminating the freight cost for the exporter, except in the cases in which the airline are those of the tourist. We have this term tourism products. Others call it souvenir. This is when a person go to a specific area and buy local products there. For example, American travels to Boracay and buy a keychain there. Co- But when the keychain was exported to America and that person bought it, it is called international trade since there is two nations and a product involved. The demand for pleasure travel is largely dependent on non-economic factors such as local disturbance, political unrest, and change in fashionability of resorts. Countries created mostly by media coverage. Tourism and hospitality creates elastic price and income. For example, Boracay was renovated and it is pricey, but it improves. That is why many tourists go there. That results their income to increase also. In international trade, a product may cost high because of the price of a raw material, but the product is the same as what it was before. Number 3. By using specific fiscal measures, the exporting of tourist country can manipulate exchange rates so that those for tourists are higher or lower, either higher or lower, depending on what product it is. For example, a t-shirt in Palawan can cost 150 pesos if locals will buy, but it can be sold 200 to the tourist. Number 4. Tourism and hospitality is a multifaceted industry that directly affects several sectors in the economy, such as hotels, shops, restaurants, local transport firms, entertainment establishments, handicraft procedures, and indirectly affects many others such as equipment manufacturers and utilities. Tourism and hospitality affects the economy since the tourists arrive, the hotels, restaurants, and transportation firms will operate. 5. Tourism and hospitality brings many more non-monetary benefits and costs than other export industries such as social, cultural, and environmental benefits and costs. Tourism and hospitality not only brings money, but it also helps a local place to be famous and accepted by foreigners. For example, in Lake Cebu, tourists can experience the life of local Tibolis there. They can wear their clothes, eat local foods, and travel in local places. Lesson 3.2: Economic Impact. The tourism industry is often cited as the largest industry in the world since it contributes 10% of the world GDP. Many people love to travel and spend money, so it contributes to the growth of that certain country. There are three main categories when we are talking about the impact of tourism and the economy. Number one is economic impact. It continues to expand to new markets and destinations. Asia and Pacific is one of the regions that has the highest growth in terms of tourism dollars. Two is social impacts include an increase in amenities like parks and other recreational activities facilities. Tourism breaks the language, sociocultural, religious, and political barriers since people travel and communicate to locals of that certain country. They tend to understand and accept each other difference so it breaks the barriers. 3 is the impact of tourism in natural environment in which it operates. There are two major effects of tourism in environment. The positive effect is that it prevents a place like coral reefs in Batanes landscape and seascape. Its negative effect is that it depletes the natural resources and pollution since tourism includes traveling that can cause a mass production of carbon dioxide. Lesson 3.3: Direct and Secondary Effects. This lesson tackles about the expenditures of the tourist in a certain area to determine the growth of the economy. Direct effect means that the income is received directly, so the tourists pay directly in an establishment. For example, hotels and restaurants. Secondary effects is where the tourists spend money but that money will be used again to buy supplies and pay the wages of workers. For example, car rentals, tour operations, and retail shops. Lesson 3.4 Tourism Multiplier. Tourism multiplier refers to the circulation of the money spent by the tourist into the country's economy. For example, a money spent in a hotel helps to create jobs direct to the hotel, like janitor, and indirectly to the farm, where the hotel gets their vegetable and meat supplies. That farm also gathers workers like farmers, gardener, and someone that takes care of the animals. The janitor in the hotel and the worker in the farm buys their food in a local grocery store. That hotel, farm, and grocery store pays taxes that will go to the national capital.
Multiplier is a key economic concept to understand economic growth and how government policy affects the overall economy through market forces. Now, the multiplier process is an economic concept developed by famous economist John Maynard Keynes. But before we get into the multiplier, let's rewind back to look at a simplified version of the circular flow of income model. In an economy where there are only households, businesses, and financial institutions, there is a continuous flow of income circulating through the economy. Financial institutions lend money to businesses for investment purposes. The businesses grow and require individuals to work for them as employees, for which they then pay them with income as their reward. Individuals then choose to either save or spend their income. The proportion that is saved goes back to financial institutions who will use the money to lend to other businesses, and the proportion of income that individuals consume will be spent on goods and services sold by businesses, and the cycle continues. Things like investment and spending are called injections into the economy because they increase aggregate income and boost economic growth. Savings, on the other hand, is known as a leakage because it takes money out of the circular flow of income and reduces the level of economic activity. Okay, now let's go back to the multiplier. The multiplier can be defined as the greater than proportional increase in national income resulting from an increase in aggregate demand. But what does this actually mean? It means that when there is economic activity that changes injections and leakages into the economy, the initial increase or decrease in injections and leakages will have a multiplied effect on national income. And let's look at why this happens. So let's say a decrease in interest rates will lead to businesses borrowing more money for investment purposes and an increase in business spending. More business investment will make them employ more people, providing households with more disposable income. With this new income, they will either spend it or save it. The part they consume with will lead to further business revenue, investment, and so the cycle continues. So the initial increase in business investment gets multiplied through the increase in household income and consumption and the circular flow of income cycle. But how big the multiplied effect will be depends on the marginal propensity to consume of individuals. Now, marginal propensity to consume is the proportion of each extra dollar of income that is spent on consumer products. In other words, changing in spending that results from a change in your income. Additionally, your marginal propensity to save is the proportion of each extra dollar of income that you save. So it's the change in saving that results from a change in income. So if for every extra dollar of income an individual receives, they spend 80 cents, then their marginal propensity to consume is 0.8 and the MPS is 0.2. Now remember, marginal propensity to consume and marginal propensity to save always add to 1. Now to calculate the multiplier, K, we use the formula 1 over 1 minus MPC or 1 over MPS. So let's look at a basic example. The government increases spending by $10 billion. What will be the multiplier and its effect on the economy if individuals' MPC is 0.6? Now, there's two steps to solve this problem. The first is to use the multiplier equation to find the value of the multiplier, or K. And once you've done this, you then multiply the initial injection of government spending into the economy by the multiplier. So this is the $10 billion times 2.5, which equals $25 billion. And what this means overall is that the initial government spending of $10 billion has passed through the circular flow of income model we looked at earlier. And through this process, it's multiplied, and the final effect it has on the economy is worth $25 billion. And so that's the multiplier in a nutshell.
This is the lesson 3.5, undesirable economic aspect of tourism. Some undesirable economic aspect of tourism and hospitality are higher price and economic instability. Kung ano ang positibo at negatibong pang-ekonomiyang mga epekto ng turismo at kung gaano kahusay ang pamahala ng paglalakbay at turismo. Ang iba pang mga negatibong epekto sa ekonomiya ng turismo para sa mga patutunguhan ay tumataas ang presyo dahil sa na-import na inflation at tumataas na demand. Dahil ang turismo ay naging isang pangunahing makina ng ekonomiya sa isang pandagdaigdig antas, paggastos at mga pagbabago na nagreresulta sa antas ng kita. Ang isa sa pang-negatibong epekto sa ekonomiya ng turismo ay ang gastos sa infrastruktura. Ang pagpaunlad ng turismo at ang mga lokal na nagbabayad ng buwis ng malaking halaga ng pera, ang turismo ay maaring mangangailangan ng pamalaan upang mapabuti ang paliparan, mga kalsada at iba pang mga infrastruktura na kung saan ay magasto. This is the lesson 3.6. How to maximize the economic effect of tourism and hospitality. There are lots of ways to maximize the economic and tourism and hospitality industry, as tourism itself is hospitality industry. The customer satisfaction must be on top priority. When the guests are satisfied when the tourism products, service, and places they want to visit surely, they will be ready to pay the price even higher. However, more than anything, we should focus on the product, making better, destination making, sustainable or attractive tourism products should be rendered so that the tourism and hospitality gain the maximum productivity as well as economic benefit. The tourism spot should be attractive. The government and tourism bodies should prepare for the best plans and policies. By doing this all activities, the hospitality industry will get the economic prosperity. In this way, the applicable plan policies and the law that is favorable to the tourists must be taken care so the more numbers of tourists will be visited to that spot. If more tourists visit, then economic development will automatically increase, maximize. Growth tourists. Proponents of the theory of balanced growth suggest that tourism and hospitality shall be viewed as an important part of a broad-based economy. Need to improve their work and how to grow their product or support each other, and to speed up income and beautification of place of tourism. Tulad ng pagtaas ng demand sa pamamagitan ng masiglang pagpapaunlad ng turismo at pagbuting pakikitungo, ang ibang mga industriya ay lilipat upang magbigay ng mga produkto at serbisyo ng lokal. Lesson 3.7, Economic Strategies. The key to maximizing the economic effect of tourism and hospitality is to maximize the amount of revenue and jobs developed within the region. To attain this objective, some economic strategies have adopted, such as import substitution, incentives, and foreign exchange. Economic strategies are: economic strategy is a relatively new and rapidly developing area of economic consulting involving an application of economic principles and methods to provide clients with unique insight aimed at addressing specific issues, problems, and or enhancing their long-term performance. Import substitution. It imposes costs or tariffs on the importation of goods which can be developed locally. Import substitution is a strategy under trade policy that abolishes the importance of foreign products and encourages production in the domestic market. The purpose of this policy is to change the economic structure of the country by replacing foreign goods with domestic goods. Incentives. The wise use incentives can encourage the influx of capital, both local and foreign, necessary to development, tourism, and hospitality supply. In the most general terms, an incentive is anything that motivates a person to do something. When we're talking about economics, the definition becomes a bit narrower. Economic incentives are financial motivation for people to take certain action. The most common form incentives are tax exemption, reduction on imported machinery, materials, and the like. In order to further increase tourism tax, payments must be reduced and worker wages must be increased. Number 2, reduction in company taxation by means of variable depreciation. Taxes should be avoided to improve their livelihood because of this lower income and higher price. Number 2, tax holidays. There must be double wages. Number 4, guarantee of stabilization of tax condition. There shall be limited tax payments and 20 years. Number 5, grants for up to 30% of total capital cost. If 30% is the capital, the tax shall be paid even lower. Number 6, subsidies guaranteeing minimum level of profit, occupancy, and etc. Need amount most once a week. Loans at low rates of interest. The loans is needed with low interest so that the borrower does not go bankrupt. Number 8, prevention of land freehold of nominal or little cost or at low rents. There shall be vacant land with renting. Number 9, free and unrestricted preparation of all parts of invested capital profits. And there must be free return on foundation or investment. Number 10, guarantee against nationalization, where must be fight if anything comes. Before implementing an incentive strategy, destination should examine the performance of the scheme of other countries and slide other sources and development of objectives. Whether the product we are carefully examined and looked at properly so as not to go bankrupt in business. Number 2, research the actual needs investor. Look good and watch the television if the investment is good and profit is big. Number 3, design codes investment concessions related to specific development objective with prices requirements of investors. The goods purchased must have a code to ensure that they have a contract. Number 4, establish targets of achievements and periodically monitor and assess the level of relation of such as target. So, you want to know if the product is in another country or in the same place, check if you only get the same meaning. Foreign exchange. Many countries have placed restriction on spending in order to maximize foreign exchange earning. Foreign exchange or forex is the conversion of one country currency into another. In a free economy, a country currency is valued according to the laws of supply and demand. In other words, a currency value can be pledged to another country currency such as the US dollar or even a basket of currency. For example, one can swap the US dollar for the euro. Once again, thank you.